Do you like Super Mario 64? How about platformers? Or maybe Metroidvanias? Maybe, just maybe, you're a furry. Well, I might have a game that you would enjoy. Pseudoregalia. Pseudoregalia is definitely one of the best games I've ever played. It's a Metroidvania platformer, but it looks like Mario 64. And let me tell you, it is good. If you don't know what a Metroidvania is, you should look it up because I'm bad at explaining things, but a Metroidvania is essentially a game where you platform around and there's a large connected map, and there's rooms that you can't get to until you unlock certain abilities. And I like this game for, despite what my friends might say, more than just the interesting character design of the character you play as. I like that this game gives you freedom with its movement. And it's so fun to just move around. So first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the game. Pseudoregalia is a small indie game published by Ritz, or Ritzler on Twitter. I'll put it up right now. It was created for itch.io's Metroidvania Month 19 Game Jam. Then, after it won the Game Jam, they added a little bit of more content to the game and put it on Steam for $6. Most of the programming, animation, and 3D modeling is done by Ritz. The level design was done by Ritz and Hi, My Name is Matt. The enemy designs were done by Technicolor Jan and Ritz. The textures were done by Ritz and Hi, My Name is Matt again. The music was done by Potato Teto, Plus W Plus, and Still Crisp, and the sounds were also done by Potato Teto. It's not very long, and depending on how good you are at platforming games, unlike me, I'm not, because I suck at puzzles, it'll probably take you about 5 hours to complete. I heavily recommend that you buy the game and play it yourself. I'm not going to spoil anything major in this video, and not that there's a huge amount of lore in the game, but I certainly think that you should play it yourself. Essentially, you play as this goat cat bunny lady named Sybil, and you start out trapped in a dungeon, and then you get a sword and some basic movement abilities, and then it kind of just builds from there. You gain more abilities as you explore more of the environment. The music in this game is done really well, and it complements all the actions that you're doing when you're in the areas that the songs play in, and it really encapsulates the Nintendo 64 style of music. Potato Teto, Plus W Plus, and Still Crisp did a very, very good job on the music in this game, I will say. I quite like it. The combat, the combat's nothing to write home about. You have standard 3-hit combo, and that's about it for combat. Most of the enemies are just obstacles in platforming. They're not really, you don't really fight enemies. You kind of just beat them up to get your meter up. And this meter allows you to heal if you take damage. And I mostly used it to heal after I fell into pits, because I didn't really take very much damage fighting enemies. But also, there's an ability you get later in the game that allows the meter to basically better your attack speed and damage. So the more you fill up the meter, the more damage you do, which makes you have to balance, do I want to heal right now, or do I want to have more damage right now? And that's helpful in a couple of the boss fights that there is. The entire combat system is, you slide to dodge, and you hit the enemies as many times as you can, which, it does feel good to do combat, because although you're fighting, it doesn't hinder your movement at all, so you're still open to move however you would like during the combat, but really this game is more movement-based, so the combat is nothing crazy. The movement system in this game is by far the central point. It is the most fun part of the game, in my opinion. It's just so smooth, and there's so much you can do with it, and in my opinion, that's what makes the game so good. Although the puzzle rooms in the game have an intended solution or path you're supposed to take to complete them, I was able to complete parts of the game without the desired path, essentially. I was able to take my own path to get where I wanted to go and to complete puzzles, despite not having abilities that the game is expecting me to use to complete them. And I think that's really cool, that you can, use your own intuition. You can use your own ways of charting the levels to make your way through the game. At the beginning of the game, the movement's pretty slow. It still feels good to control, though, So it really helps with how the game feels. The movement, it's just so good. It's so hard to explain. But basically, as you progress, you find more abilities that makes the movement even better and smoother. And it's just more enjoyable. There's a slide jump, a wall kick, a wall run, a backflip, and a ground pound, and so much more. And there's so much you can combine those things. You can combine them all and do it in all different ways. It's so cool. And there's even more movement tech that's like secret. Not really secret, but speedrunners will teach you how to do it on YouTube if you're so interested. But the only major thing I have to say about the movement is the wall kick being a little different from some platformers. So most platformers, when you have a wall kick, it's really it's like a double jump by sliding on a wall. You jump onto a wall and you slide down a bit, and then you have an opportunity to jump off of the wall. And usually it's between two walls and you can jump back and forth. This, though, is it's a system where you jump into the air, and then you press the jump button again, and it initiates this small animation. And during this animation, Sybil kicks her leg out, and you can direct Sybil towards a wall. And when you kick that wall, you bounce off of it, and the speed and also the angle that you come off the wall with depends on how you oriented yourself to hit the wall, which is a little hard to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's really good. It's really fun to control. And it helps you get to some areas that are, I mean, you basically use it to gain height, and it helps you to get to areas where, well, like I said, I used it to get to areas that I couldn't have gotten to because I didn't have the ability, but I could anyways because I used the wall jump. Also, there's this interesting thing you can do, and I don't know if this is really a combat thing, but you can throw your sword. It doesn't really serve any purpose until you get the wall kick, because you can throw your sword in the air and jump into the air, and if you time it just right, you can kick your sword. And when you kick your sword, it kind of just, I think it aims at the nearest enemy, sort of, to an extent, and it's really cool because you can just kick your sword at enemies, and I didn't know that was a thing. And that's another thing I like about this game. I'm still discovering new ways to do stuff. The levels in this game are really good. The puzzles aren't like super hard, and you know, it's really open. The outdoor levels are framed in a way that make them look really big, even though it's not entirely huge. And most of it takes place inside, but I like how it encourages you to use your current moveset to the best of your ability. The levels are staged in a way to where there's an obvious solution, but if you don't have the abilities to do the obvious solution, you can find your own way to get there, and I really like that about this game. Also, the goal of the game is to get 5 keys, and the cool thing about the goal of the game is that there's no standard progression. You don't have to collect these 5 keys in any particular order. You can just discover them while you're exploring the environments, and a lot of them I got before I had the abilities I was supposed to have to get them, which I think that's so cool. And they added a map. It wasn't previously in the game, and some people were concerned that the map would make the game too easy to traverse because the environment isn't that complicated. However, I think the way they added the map makes a lot of sense, and it really keeps the game... It doesn't make it too easy on you, essentially. So the map is not so complex as to tell you where all the platforms and the level are, and where you are, so you can just stare at the map and go across. It's really simple, so it's like you are in this room, and these rooms are around you. And I think that's a good way to design the map for a game like this, where the levels aren't super complicated. The aesthetic of this game is much like Super Mario 64 and Nintendo 64 graphics in general. The graphics are dithered, and the animations are locked at 30 FPS, which gives this older console feel, which I really enjoyed it. You can turn the dithering off and also unlock the FPS of the animations, which turns it to 60. And if you do that, which I didn't know you could do until very recently, it does make the game feel a lot smoother. Although I did play through the entire game with that off because I don't know, I like the aesthetic of it. Also, the sound aesthetic is good too. I don't know if the sounds are actually 16 to 32-bit or whatever they are, but they emulate an old console, so it emulates the Nintendo 64 feel, and it really drives it home. I'll touch on this briefly as well. Sybil's character design is... I think it's really well done, and the animations for Sybil are really good too. And there's small details in the animations that really improve how the game feels. There is a certain aspect of the character design that you may be interested in if you are into that. Basically, if you're a furry, you might like the character design, and a lot of furries did like the character design, because when I looked up fan art on Twitter, there's quite a bit of it. And if that's your thing, maybe don't buy the if you don't like platformers but you'd like the character, you don't have to buy the game. You can scroll through their art, or you can make art yourself. I'm not saying you have to buy the game to do that, but I still think you should play it. Overall, I really enjoyed playing this game, even though I don't actually particularly like Metroidvanias. And I'm still... one of the coolest things about this game is just, even now, with 30 hours in this game, I am still discovering new ways to get to places I've already been, and I just think that's so cool. I think you could lock me in a room in this game and just put a puzzle there, and I would have fun with that room for like 5 hours of just figuring out different ways to move between all of the... It's just so cool. Overall, I think this game is a 10 out of 10. I highly suggest that you buy and play the game for yourself and really discover the movement for yourself. I recommend this game, and if you do buy it, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I mean, I'm still dumping hours into this game. I don't think I've done that with any game I've completed for a very long time. I also hope that you enjoyed this video, although it's kind of me just ranting into my microphone for a little bit, but thanks for watching it. I hope you actually watched it, or if you didn't, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't waste your time. You can subscribe if you want. I don't really care. I'm going to try to put out videos every 2 weeks because I have extra time, you know. Play the game. Have fun. Pseudoregalia is really good. Peak.